there will be problems that you can't solve. There will be times when you fall short. There will be things that don't work out. There will be things that fall apart. Like, what if? It's not even a what if, it's a when. All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Undeniable One-on-One. This is a series dedicated to remote sales professionals where we break through the generic one-size-fits-all training and advice that's out there. And my purpose is to really showcase the power of having personalized mentorship and someone that's willing to give you counterintuitive advice that's not just the cookie cutter that's out there with everybody. So I'm very excited. We've been having a star-studded cast, and this is a very, very special guest. I've had a chance to work with this man for quite a while now, and I think his story is really, really important because he's broken through a lot of the traditional paths that are laid out, right? We're all supposed to start at the bottom and work our way up, and setter to closer and closer to manager and manager to whatever, right? But there's so many opportunities, especially now more than ever in this space, to carve your own path. And this is a perfect example. And the other reason I really like using Taylor as an example is because it's very easy to see where someone is now and think, wow, it's easy for him to say, it's easy for her to say, they're totally different. They have all this. But I've been with Taylor since almost the very beginning. And to see that he's had all the same limiting beliefs and all the same fears and all the same excuses as everybody here listening, and to see that the only path is through development. The only path is bringing these things to awareness. You don't avoid fear, right? You don't avoid limiting beliefs. There's no easy path for anybody in this space. So I think it's a perfect example when you're looking up at someone to realize that they probably started in the exact same space as you, and development has been the answer. So it's been an honor to be a part of this man's journey. I've got to meet him both across the pond on his court, and recently in Miami at SalesCon, and couldn't ask for a better guy. So I appreciate you being here today, Taylor.
Mate, thank you for having me on, and it's going to be an interesting process to go through, especially with the last 3 years you've worked with me. There's been a ton of growth, ton of challenges, but yeah, really looking forward to it. Should be good.
I love it. So what are we focused on today? What do we need to work on? What's a question or topic?
Yeah, so obviously, as we spoke about before, I've transitioned out of my agency that I was working with before, and it's really, of course, I set up the business in August 2021, doing my own thing in the high ticket world, but now I'm truly, by myself, building my own consulting agency. And
Mhm.
I just noticed the fears that have come through of what if it doesn't work out? What if I don't fulfill? What if there's things that I don't know that I can't solve?
Right.
Just these doubts around my ability to fulfill, and obviously breaking my own income ceilings
Yeah.
that I've placed on myself. So it's a lot of those challenges since now doing my own thing.
Right. Yeah, we tend to idolize and romanticize the idea of entrepreneurship, but as you know and have experienced, I always say it should come with a fire hat, because a lot of it is dealing with problems, and a lot of it is, yes, you reap the benefits, right? When something works, you're the star of the show, but there's nothing to hide behind, and that leaves us very vulnerable, right? You're taking it all on the chin, and it's all you. And there's a lot of things that we can talk about with dealing with fear and dealing with, those insecurities that come to the surface. But the first thing I want to say, and this may be counterintuitive, is there will be problems that you can't solve. There will be times when you fall short. There will be things that don't work out. There will be things that fall apart. Like, what if? It's not even a what if, it's a when, right? And at first, that's like, well, shit, that doesn't make me feel any better. But
Sure.
that's happened to you before. And here we are, right? There has been things that didn't work out. There has been things that fell apart, right? And it's very easy to see that you're in a much better place now than before that happened. And if those things didn't fall apart, would you even be here? Right. And so I think, I got this idea from, I used to struggle with self-worth, right? And this idea of like good enough. Right. And I used to kind of hide from it. And then people would give me this advice, like, you got to do affirmations, you got to talk to yourself. And none of it really hit. And then one time I just looked in the mirror and just said, you're not good enough. Right. Like, that's why you're doing all this shit. That's why you're pursuing. Right. Like, you know it. Right. Like, that's why you're you're developing. That's why you're improving. That's why you're seeking out new information, new knowledge. And it's like, oh yeah. Right. Like, if if I was good enough, then I wouldn't be doing these things. And why would I want good enough to be the destination? That's not, like, I don't want good enough to be, go to a 5-star meal, and good enough is, I don't want good enough. So instead of fighting it, instead of like overpowering it or getting all, empowerment about it, I just owned it. I took ownership over it. And all of a sudden, I just felt my anxiety release of like, yeah, I'm not good enough. And so I think it's the same principle here of like, you will fail and you will fall short. And there will be problems that you don't know how to solve, just as there has been in your life. But those are not counterintuitive to success. They're actually a part of it. Right. And so you will have to make adjustments. And what you think is going to work, you didn't think you were going to be here. Right. You had no idea that you would end up here. And it came through the trials and tribulations, and it didn't come through smooth sailing. It came through resistance. It came from hitting a dead end. It came from realizing I don't want to do this anymore. The thing that I was working towards is no longer important to me. A lot of things in your life have come from falling short, from hitting a wall. And so there's power in that I don't know that what I'm working towards will work out the way it's supposed to. But I know that I have the ability to be agile. I know I have the ability to make shifts. I know I have the ability to overcome any challenge. And I may not be able to solve that specific challenge, but I know I'm going to be all right. I know, like, you have a specific skill set, you have specific characteristics. Even if I said you could never do anything in this space, let's say you were banned from this space, it still wouldn't affect your ability to be successful. You would still be able to find a different path. And so it's about replacing the certainty of outcome with the certainty internally that there is no one thing or one problem that is bigger than you. Everything that you're going to face, you're going to be able to solve, and you are fully equipped to be able to do so, or you're dead and you don't have to worry about it anyway. The only problem that you're not going to be able to solve or bounce back from is death, and then it's all good anyway, right? So knowing that, it's just about building the foundation of life will not throw something at me that I am not equipped to handle. I may not get the outcome, it may not be desirable, but those moments are actually what strengthen me. So it's releasing that and just owning that, yeah, it's going to be a fucking mess. That's what business is. It's going to continue. It's been messy up until now. There's no reason to believe it's going to get less messy. You're going to continue to scale, and you're going to have bigger problems, but they're going to have bigger rewards. Exactly what you've done now. Right. So that's the frame that I like to build on the foundation. And then it's really, how do I develop the resourcefulness and problem solving, where I was talking to a student the other day, and I really like this exercise because it brings the brain and kind of put restrictions on it, right? Because our brain can expand, and when we don't have enough data, our brain creates data, right? And that's our imagination, right? So what I like to do is, anytime there's a problem or something unexpected, I like to think of a scale, right? And 10 is, there is a meteor coming for Earth in 5 minutes, we're all dead, right? Like, there's nothing we can do. It's past the point of no return. It's over, right? It's coming. We can see the big rock coming, right? That's a level 10 problem, right? Level 1 is like, there's a little mosquito, like, buzzing in my face, right? Where would I put this problem? Well, it's not 9, right? Like, I've probably only had, and if you think about your own life, maybe you've had a couple 7s, right? Like, I'm thinking 9 is like, I found out some sort of illness or something horrible that there's no, cure for. 8 would be like something that affects my life and there's no real solution for in a real negative way, right? And then it starts to get down. And what I've realized by that scale, it's like, if I'm being honest with myself, most of the time I'm dealing with 3, 4s, and 5s. right? Like if you really think about it on that scale, how many sevens, eights, and nines have you really dealt with? And even if you thought it was a nine, right, a little bit of space and you realize it's a six, right? So you build that scale and then you ask yourself, right, okay, let's say this is a five. It's urgent, it's big, I can't let it go. It's definitely not a mosquito, but it's definitely not a meteor. Well, that means all I have to do is address this as a level six problem solver. Now, what would a level six problem solver look like, right? And as soon as I get an angle where I'm looking down on my problem, all of a sudden the problem feels different. When I'm looking up and I'm building up the problem and I'm lowering my confidence and downplaying my ability, then all of a sudden it overpowers me. So I think the second thing is being able to classify the problem and sometimes zoom out, like in the grand scheme of things, when you're 80, is this going to be what you're talking about? Like my no-show rate was so high. Like no one gives a shit, right? It takes zooming out. In the moment, it seems bigger, but think about, will this be a turning point when I'm 80 looking back and being like, life was good until this happened? And if not, it's a reasonable problem that we can deal with. Now, what are the qualities, characteristics, abilities, resources that I can use to level above my problem, right? So it's one, get in the mentality of like surrender to the things we can't control and find that internal certainty. Two, classify the problem. And then three, equip yourself. And if you're like, let's say you do deal with a level six and you're not there yet, now it's your connections. You have level six, seven, eight, nine problem solvers in your network, in your relationships. Now you draw on them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about actually. Was like, I think sometimes I've had been very prideful, where it's kind of like I feel like it's all on me and I need to solve the problems, think through it, and it's yeah, I guess just the ego not wanting to ask for help or support and just thinking I can deal with it all, right?
Right.
But it's
And
just not.
there's a truth to that, but that's the problem is our mind takes a little, it's kind of like marketers, right? They take one little truth and then they wrap a big lie, but they put the truth first, right?
Right.
Our mind does that all the time, right? So it is true. You do have to deal with the problem. You come to me, I'm not dealing with your problem, right? Like, but that's not taking responsibility, right? If you come to me for advice, I give you advice. The advice means jack all, right? Like you can't cash in advice. Like you still have to implement. It's the same thing you've seen it in UCM. Everybody has the same access. It's not like I'm doing this for you. Like I've been a resource for you. You come to me when you need to, and you should come more, of course, but we're here, right? But what have I ever done for you? What problems have I ever solved for you? What commitments have I ever made for you? What actions have I ever took for you? I can't pick up the phone, right? I can't fix it. I can give you advice, but it's understanding that asking for help is taking responsibility, right? That's the resourcefulness. That's part of it. And that person, you're not asking that person, hey, sub in and take care of, an argument I have with my wife, right? But
Mm,
asking for that advice comes with the maturity of like, I'm taking responsibility and this solution is outside of myself. I'm going to get inspiration and then I am going to take responsibility for solving the problem. So there's truth there in that you are responsible, but that doesn't mean that, hey, I can't learn or watch a YouTube video or talk to a mentor or gather more information to solve the problem. Those things are not contradictory.
got it. Okay. That answers it for me, to be fair.
Beautiful, quick, simple, man. I love it.
Yeah.
So biggest things, right? And I think, you're going to continue to grow and that's going to create new problems. You should constantly be in a deficit. You should constantly feel like I don't know what the heck I'm doing because the minute you don't, that's probably a sign of your comfort, right? Like the minute you know exactly what you're doing and you're excelling, it's probably time to level up and start again at I don't know what the heck I'm doing, right? So understand that that feeling is a part of the pursuit and part of the growth. It's part of that development. It's part of aiming high, right? You could wait and sit in it, right? There's probably a point where you were setting where it's like, it's automatic, right? I feel confident. I feel comfortable. right? If you looked at that as the destination, there would be no growth, right? And then it was the next pursuit, and you're starting at the very bottom. So just remind yourself when you're feeling that, that is the exchange of I'm going higher, right? The alternative is stay where you are and get really good at the smaller level, right? And that's not the reward we want, right? So just connect those emotions with good, I'm in pursuit.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense.
I love it, man. So proud of you. So proud of what you've been able to accomplish. I think you're a great inspiration for other people. For anybody that hasn't checked out Taylor, definitely check him out. What he's doing is incredible. Where can people find you? Just so they know.
Yeah, I've branched out a little bit now. It used to be just Facebook. You'd search in Taylor O'Hare and there I am. But I'm also on YouTube as well. So if you just type in my name, Taylor O'Hare, I've got a whole YouTube channel about appointment setters. We're on the cusp of hitting 1K subscribers, so we are constantly growing. And yeah, and obviously follow me on Facebook, message me if you need any help.
I love it. All right, folks, I hope you got some value out of this episode. Make sure to like, put in the comments. I'm always checking the comments. So if you have any questions or you'd like to be featured on one of these episodes, let me know, and make sure you subscribe to get the next episode. Appreciate y'all. Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. I want to thank you for watching today, and I hope you received some value from this training session. Make sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell icon to be notified when we release the next training session. If you would like to be featured on a future training session, make sure to join our remote sales community on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover on a future training session, just leave a comment below. Appreciate you. Onwards and upwards.